Sponsors get quiet. Go on and get crunk. Head back to Longview, Kelly popping trunk. I ain't even tripping. Riding and I'm sipping. Let me come through 4-4 steady tipping. On that new lap. Watch the trunk crack. Let me sit sideways, CB running back. Maybe AP, maybe AD. I ain't even tripping cause we some athletes. Messing with Smitty in the summertime. He get pissed if we don't make our time. But we gon' get it cause we gotta finish. Nebraska horn hustlers, man, we diminished. Put them boys little, paint like a skittle. I ain't even tripping, I ain't never double dribble. Cause I'm a player from the Himalaya. Let me sit sideways, man. Maybe back door, maybe fall off. Sipping codeine cause I gotta kill a cough. Let me sit sideways in the big Benz. Oh, you boys, they my brothers, they my friends. Holla at Coach Sumlin, holla at the Stoops. Let me sit sideways in the two-door coupe. Cause I'm sitting clean, foes on the lead. Look at my pants, got a sag in my jeans. Let me sit sideways cause I'm steady coming. PT throwing that ball and it's humming. I'ma gon' catch it, I'ma gon' wretch it. Man, I'm sitting sideways, boy, shoulder naked today.
All right, man, welcome to Fullback U. Just extremely honored. I said it the other day, but man, I don't even know where to start. Great friend of mine, James Winchester. We have so much in common. I'm really excited about this interview. But let me bring him in first. James, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Just tell me, obviously you've had a long journey. Talk to me about how Kansas City's going.
Man, Kansas City's great. Man, very fortunate to be in Kansas City. This is going into year 5. It still kind of throws me off there that I'm going into year 5 in the NFL. It's unbelievable. I mean, it's a dream come true. It really is. To go from small town Washington to walking on to the university of my dreams and getting to wear the Sooner uniform for 4 years and then not really knowing what was next, but having a dream to play in the NFL. And man, it took me a few years to get there, but by the grace of God, it happened. And man, we're grateful. I mean, it just continued to get better, and we do. We love Kansas City. Great place, great people, great barbecue, and we got a pretty good team right now, so doing well.
I was going to ask you about the barbecue, actually. I'm sure it's amazing.
It's pretty good, yeah, it really is. I think South Texas and Kansas City barbecue, some differences there, but very good barbecue, I'd say.
Good stuff, man. You're so close to a Super Bowl. I don't mean to dig a knife into a wound, but what were your thoughts on that, and what's your thoughts on the team going forward?
Well, I mean, obviously the initial thought is, obviously a lot of disappointment, but you take a step back and you look at the season that we had, and there's so much to be proud of. Overall, how the guys performed and week in and week out, all phases, and it was an incredible year, and especially the offense that we had this year, and watching those guys roll. Obviously, I stand over on the sideline, and we didn't punt a whole lot this year, so I got to watch quite a bit, more than I probably like, but I kind of keep that to myself, and I'm ready when my name is called. But there's so many great players on our roster right now that have been doing a fantastic job, and man, it's fun, it's exciting, it really is, and we've had great teams over the last few years that I've been there, but this year was different. There was just the overall talent and just belief that we could beat anybody, and it was exciting. Obviously, kind of a downer how that happened, and the game of football, there's ups and downs, but that final game, a play goes our way, and we're headed to the Super Bowl. So overall, obviously, disappointed, but it was an incredible year and something that's, a big thing to build on, a big game for all the guys in the locker room, all the young guys, leading into this next year. There's a lot of exciting things to look forward to.
Most games, you mentioned having to be ready when your number's called. And I'm sure you know the numbers better than I do, but most games in the NFL come down to the last second field goal. And so it basically comes down to your snap operation and that whole deal. Just talk about, if you can, just what that third phase is like in the NFL.
It's huge. It sticks out so much more in the NFL than in college. You can always, one play can always change the game. But in the NFL, it's such a high level. I know you know that from your time in the NFL, that, the games and the talent on both teams week in, week out is just the best in the world. I don't know how else to explain it. And you're going to get everyone's best shot every week, the best players in the world, and to you never know what the margin is going to come down to. I mean, you don't know. I mean, you're always prepared, for a field goal. Something could be the game winner, and just the smallest thing. And so, special teams, is such a important part of the game, and it really stems down in Kansas City from obviously Dave Tobe, our special teams coordinator, and Rod Wilson, our assistant.
Rodrigo.
Oh yeah, you played with Rod. I forgot about that. Yeah. Hot Rod. Yeah, we love him. We do. He's a great one, and man, we were very fortunate to play for both of those guys because, man, they set the tone. I mean, you know how Coach Tobe is. He's an old school hard nose. And he's going to get the best out of the players, and we love playing for him. So, man, it's like going back to your question. I mean, we see special teams in Kansas City as an opportunity to change the game, and that's how we view it. We all take pride in it, and like I said, that stems down from Coach Tobe, and so you just never know. I mean, the NFL, the smallest thing can win you a game, and if we create a turnover or a field goal or anything, that could be the game winner. So that's how we see it.
Well, you said a little bit just how much, the magnitude kind of, from what I got from you is how the shift of the momentum and things like that on special teams happen. But, I got a generic question, and it just says, how is it similar and different than college? But I want to know your preparation. To me, there was a much different preparation, and I thought we prepared well at OU, but if you can just talk about the preparation nights before games, off season, just hit on that for me.
Yeah, it's just a different level of attention to detail, to be honest with you. I mean, it's obviously you're a professional, it's your job, it's what you do, and it's such a long season, and you're playing against the best of the best. It's just a different level. The speed, everyone's faster, stronger, and just more specialized in their given position. The punters, the kickers, the snappers, the rushes that you're getting, the looks on kickoff. I mean, everything is just faster. Everyone is better, I guess, just to be honest with you. And so really, the preparation and the work that goes into it is just very tedious. I mean, attention to the detail to the smallest things. And, we watch a lot of, film of the teams we're playing, but at the same time we break down, I'm constantly breaking down film on myself, and I know the other guys on the team are doing the same. You're always trying to get better. Where can you get that edge that's going to help your team, on special teams for us, how are you going to help us win the game? Doing your job is a huge part, and obviously it's a business, and you're there to do your job, and so you just continue to work and try to be as perfect as you can. No one's perfect. We're all going to make mistakes, and that's just the game. That's life. That's a game of football. But how for me, snapping, it's like how minute can your misses be? If you can hit the spot, and it's only an inch or two off, I can live with that. You try to narrow those misses down, and just, I guess, overall attention to detail. I mean, it's just week in, week out, it's your job, and you want to do what you can to help your team win.
I got a Tobe story that I'll tell you, but
for sure, I want to hear it.
About the attention to detail. But we're gonna you kind of mentioned on it, being a couple inches off, but snapping in Kansas City in the winter does not sound easy. A lot of NFL stadiums are in the Northeast, and they're outdoors and that whole deal. Any tips or tricks that you use to snap in the cold and wind?
That was probably one of my biggest questions that I had for veterans, like Patrick and Kendall Gammon, that snapped in Kansas City before me and years before I did. And it was just, how do you play in the cold like that? And I soon learned that it wasn't as bad as I thought. It just takes an adjustment. I hold the ball, you grip the ball different in water games. When it's cold, you always try to take care of your hands, whether they're by the heater, whether they're in the pouch, and you just try to do everything on your part to be ready to go. Obviously at that point there's no excuse, my hands were cold or this or that. It doesn't matter. Rain, shine, snow. I mean, you got to perform. So, and we get a lot of wind in Kansas City, and so thankfully in Kansas City we get a lot of bad weather as it is, so you get to practice in it a lot, so that's good. But on game day we've got heaters, we've got resources to keep the hands warm, and we're not out on the field a lot, so you can, for keeping your hands warm, it's relatively easy in that regard. But, water games, wet games, when it's snowing, it's kind of right on the line of freezing. Those are probably the most difficult, just because you have to make adjustments and you have to trust it. You're not doing yourself any favors when you go out and you're kind of second guessing, your snap or your follow through. You want to go out and know exactly that ball's going to be right on the money. And so I think it's just adjusting and experience. The longer you do it, the more you do it. Going into year 5 now, I mean, you learn how to adjust.
I think what's interesting, and even seeing it in the NFL, is we had some good guys that could back up deep snap, but dude, there's only if you're a punter, your kicker's the backup, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You're the only one on the field that can do what you do at an elite level. I mean, even your backup is just not going to be you. And I'll talk about, player development and all that, because it leads into my next question. Planning those deals out. You talked about Coach Tobe. I feel like Dave Tobe's going to be a Hall of Famer. You mentioned the names Devin Hester, Brendan Iambadejo, obviously, Tyreek Hill. You can just go on and on. What's it like playing for him?
It's incredible. I mean, I had heard a lot about Coach Tobe before I got to Kansas City, and it didn't take long to I love him to death. I mean, I love how hard nosed he is, just how old school and just no excuse kind of guy, and it kind of reminds me of my dad. Just kind of a hard working guy, and you love playing for him. He's all about competition and continuing to get better. Every day, when I went to Kansas City, I was contacted by Robbie Gould, and he gave me some great advice. He knew that I was going in and was going to be playing for Coach, and he said, he'll get on you, and he's going to push you, but he said you'll be better than you've ever been before, and that is so true, because he pushes us and he expects more out of us every day. There's no complacency, there's no I'm doing all right. You never feel like you're at a spot where I'm doing pretty good. You're always working on things. You're always working technique and fundamentals, and ultimately that leads to success. And so, I can speak obviously as a snapper for him, but I think the other guys in the team room or in the special teams room can tell you the same, that they love playing for him. And when you have success like you do under him, it becomes pretty evident. You buy in and you realize that he's incredibly intelligent when it comes to the game of football, and just to play for a guy like that, man, it really is a blessing. And I'm thankful to be, thankfully, we always tell him every year, he's been a candidate for head coaching positions.
Yeah, right.
I always tell him every year, I know that's a goal of his, and I want that for him. But selfishly, I'm thankful that he's still in Kansas City, and a lot of guys feel the same way. So, it wouldn't surprise me. I think he'll be a fantastic head coach someday, and I hope he gets an opportunity soon. I do.
My experience, I wish somebody would have talked to me before I went in with him, James. I just, and I thought we were prepped going in from OU, and I say he's a Hall of Famer for this reason. The preparation that this man puts into football is second to none. That, from what I've seen special teams wise, I was around Rich Bisaccia. I believe he's still at the Cowboys. Yep. Darren Simmons, who was at Cincinnati. I was around a lot of those guys, and they prepared hard. But when the story I was going to tell you is, we're sitting there watching film one day, and I used to try to stump Tobe. You try, you want to know, and he goes in and asks us a question. He's like, "How do you guys know this is a fake punt?" And we're like, "What do you mean? We don't know. There's nothing about this picture." And he shows us 2 different pictures. This picture's different than that picture. What's the difference? And we're like, "We don't know. He's like, "The kicker and deep snapper are down there watching. They know it's a fake. They know the calls, so they're down there watching." Just the smallest details. Yep. You're like, dude. And then the other thing that I think young athletes need to hear is, if I could go back and talk to young JD, I would say, young JD, be ready to do any and everything on special teams. Yeah. Any and everything. Right. And I went in with the mentality of, okay, I'm going to probably play the special teams that I used to play. And Tobe hit me with, well, yeah, you're going to do those, but you're going to do what I want you to do. And I totally got that. The hard part for me was, I was doing 2 phases that I had never done. But I tried to do punt return, never did it. Tried to do kickoff. Never got to do kickoff. Hell, I wasn't fast enough to do that at OU. But I was on the returns, and again, I was a wedge guy, captain on the wedge, but ended up moving the front line. I'm dropping back 40 yards and blocking another guy. So I think, and if you could just hit on that, just about what the rookies should expect, coming to play for a guy like that.
I think as for the rookies coming into play, I think the guys in the past, the last couple of years that have come in and seen what coach is all about, they soon find out, why we're successful, and they soon find out that why he's one of the best. And like you said, just the attention to detail and his football knowledge that he applies to special teams, and he puts you in a position to win. He puts you in a position to make plays, to get takeaways, to be successful. And I mean, that's the reason why we finished in the top 5 in special teams every year I've been there. It's such a fun thing, when you're rolling and you're playing against the best of the best. And like your story of, he put the two, sounds just like him, putting the 2 cards up. What do you see different? I mean, the amount of time that man puts into film preparation and is just, it blows my mind. It really, because he sets us up every week to win, and guys love playing for him. And so, for rookies coming in, I think it's one of those things that's hard to really explain to them, buy in, I would say.
Yeah,
but
good.
really, until you get in and you get in there with coach and he starts coaching you and teaching you, there's really no way to really describe it, I guess. You really don't know until you just get to work. And but man, when you get to work and you're rolling and you're making plays and the team, I love what he says. He always preaches that, the star of our unit is the unit, as a whole. So that's how we play. We don't have individuals on our teams, and everyone plays together. And you do your job, and you allow the man next to you to do his job, and we're going to be strong across the board. And just like your example of when you were in Chicago playing for him. He knows what your strengths and your weaknesses are, and he puts you in positions to succeed. It might not always be the most comfortable position, but he knows that you can succeed in that area just because of the coach that he is and the amount of years that he's done it and what he sees. And so, we absolutely love playing for him. But, yeah, I think for a rookie, it would just be kind of, put your nose to the ground and work and play anything and everything. Raise your hand for whatever you can. Show them you want to play. It looks stupid. Yeah, we want hard-nosed guys that want to play and that want to contribute to teams. And that's the team that we have right now, and it's fun.
Colquitt is like punting royalty, so he's got all the family in the world, and then you've got a rookie kicker. You guys are 3. And people will never really understand how important roster spots are, but just talk about you guys' friendship.
I think as for specialists, you become very close with the guys you work with. We spend a ton of time. Usually we're made fun of by the other guys of like, what do you guys do all day? But we're together. Whether you're practicing or you're in the locker room, we're always together. And so, man, I've been so fortunate to get to play with Dustin. He really is. He's a legend in Kansas City and in the NFL. From punting royalty and from his family, his dad and brothers, uncles. Going from Tennessee, and they were. He was a walk-on. His brother walked on. And his brother playing. Obviously won a Super Bowl for the Broncos, and now he's in Cleveland. And Dustin's played his whole career in Kansas City. Just speaks volumes about him. Love him to death. He's an incredible punter. And then we get Bucker, and had Cairo for the first couple of years, and an incredible kicker. Just had some misfortune with injuries, and we were fortunate enough to pick up Harrison Bucker. He's an incredible talent. He's just got a cannon for a leg, and his composure. He's wise beyond his years. He really is. You would never guess that he's a second-year guy. He's pretty ice cold in the game-winning situations, and nothing really phases him or gets to him. And he's always working. He's a guy that Coach Tobe obviously loves because of not his overall talent, but his desire to work and to continue to get better. And he's coachable. And so, yeah, very very to have those 2 guys to play with. My job is to serve those 2 dudes, and so to be able to do that, I consider it a great honor, and I'm working every year to continue to get better for those guys, and obviously we have a strong unit, and we hope to have that for many more years to come.
You met and mentioned Patrick Manley. I don't know, many people outside of Bears fans may not know him, but he's on his way to the Hall of Fame as well, in my opinion.
I think so.
Tell me what that was like.
Oh yeah, obviously when I knew who Pat was long before. I grew up watching him in Chicago, and 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 then coming in and playing for Coach Tobe, the connection with Pat, Coach would always reference Patrick and things that he would do. And I mean, you just look up to a guy like that. You look up to what he did at such a high level for so many years. It's incredible. And so, I had the opportunity a couple of years ago to, he came down to Kansas City and got to work with him in OTAs. And, man, it was such a cool thing. I mean, just trying to soak up as much knowledge from him as you can. I mean, he's a Duke guy. He's incredibly smart, and I've heard a lot about him. But it was really cool to get to meet him and spend some time with him and just talk long snapping with him. And there's things that I do today that I still draw back from his wisdom that he kind of shared in different areas. And I mean, like I said, he's a Hall of Fame kind of guy. I mean, we need to get a snapper up there. Is what we need, and I can't think of anyone better than him. I mean, he just embodies everything that you would come to think when you think of a Hall of Fame long snapper. I mean, he did it for so many years at such a high level, like I said, and so it was truly an honor to know him and to get to work with him in the past couple of years.
Switching up to the current team, are you going to Pro Day tomorrow?
I am. Yeah, excited to go watch. I try to make it every year. Norman is home for me in the off season, and so I am. I'm excited. I train up there as it is, so I'm excited to go up and watch Kyler throw and the other guys participate in Pro Day. Pro Day for me was an opportunity to show what I could do, and it's just such an exciting time in your career. As you know, and man, it's just it brings back a lot of those feelings of trying to make it, and you're finally to that point, and you've got to play at a elite program like the University of Oklahoma, and then you've got general managers watching, you've got head coaches watching, and just the excitement this year, or Baker last year, and then Kyler this year. It's really cool. It's exciting stuff for the university. Obviously, I know you can say the same. I mean, we're very proud as alumni of the school and of these guys and what they're accomplishing. So, props to Kyler for what he's done, and excited to watch him throw tomorrow.
We got a specialist coming out. So, Cyber, what advice would you have for him?
Man, I've got to talk to Cyber a couple times, and obviously watched him closely. Being a specialist, we tend to, I love my Sooners, but I really love my Sooner specialist. So to watch him and his career, he's done an amazing job, and he's going to have a career in the NFL, and do what he's been doing. I mean, he is as good as he is, and he's had the success that he has from doing what he's done, and I know he's worked hard, and it's an exciting time. I think that you just trust the process, and I think that we all have high expectations on draft day, but it doesn't matter. Second, third round, all the way to free agency. There's so many guys. It just doesn't matter. You're looking for an opportunity, and he's going to get an opportunity. And then it's just kind of, you take it step by step. Your goal is to sign with the team. Once you sign, that's the opportunity you're looking for, and then you go to work. And then you try to beat a guy out, and in competition, kicking competitions, and he's got the leg to do it and the talent. And you just keep working, keep your head down, and then when you make it, it just never stops. You continue to work hard and get better. You've always got guys coming out in the draft. You've always got kickers and high rated this and that. But you just keep your nose down and continue to work on your weaknesses and get better. And he'll be kicking in the NFL for a long time.
Now, kind of on a personal note, and I know you're an Oklahoma guy, and follow, I'm sure, Oklahoma high school sports pretty well. I went to the state tournament at the Big House. Got to check out some games. Kingfisher was amazing. My brother, shout out to my brother, Coach Hatchett. They played it. They were state finalists. Lost to Tulsa Memorial, and they got two 6'8" brothers on the team that are twin brothers that are unbelievable. So, but I bring that all up to say, I got basketball in my family, and I told my brother that you were coming on, and I expected him to say something about football, but he said, "Nah, man, this dude's a hooper." That's what kids these days call it. You're a hooper. Is that still true, or is his statement true, and is it still true?
I don't play as much as I used to. I'll just be honest. I'd love to bump my chest and say I'm still dunking on kids, but I don't as much. I still love to get in the gym and shoot around and play. I mean, it's always been one of my loves, to play the game of basketball. And we get to play some in the off season. You got to be careful about the pickup in the off season. Obviously, you saw you saw Pat, kind of get a slap on the wrist for that one. But as long as obviously everybody plays. I mean, we all play basketball in the off season. It's a great way to stay in shape. We all love it. We've got a basketball goal in our locker room. I mean, everybody's shooting. Now we're not playing one-on-one crazy. It's just for gotcha and shooting games. But everybody, if you're an athlete, most guys grew up playing basketball. So to answer your question, I don't play as much. But anytime I have an opportunity to go play some pickup, I'm always willing. I do. I love basketball. And after I came to Oklahoma and got in the Schmitty program, I kind of wished I had another year of high school basketball. Maybe could have done something there. But felt like I became a lot better athlete after going through old Schmitty's program. So, but anyways, yeah, I do. I still like to get out and shoot.
Better feeling, fumble recovery at OU Texas or fumble recovery in the NFL?
Tough one. That's a tough one.
You sealed the game in the Cotton Bowl, bro. I mean,
I know. I mean, honestly, the thing is like I said, I would have to say the Cotton Bowl. I mean, I really do. That was really my first taste of making a play, and for it to happen in the situation, I played 2008, 2009. We got beat by Texas 2 years in a row. I'd never won that game, and I'd always seen Texas with the golden hat, and growing up in Oklahoma, being a Sooners fan, you always dreamed of you always watched the Cotton Bowl, and you always dreamed of playing for the Sooners. But when you think about playing for the Sooners, it gives you chills thinking about playing in the Cotton Bowl. And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's like no other experience or feeling that I've ever had. And so to make a play in that game, to seal it, to win it, I mean, unbelievable. I mean, dream come true. I mean, it really does. It gives me chills thinking about it. In that environment and just helping the team. I mean, I used to always in college, make a play on my tape because, I only get a few plays a game, and, to have the opportunity to be in a spot where you can make a play like that and change the game. Incredible, and it's a memory that obviously I'll cherish forever, and I'll be old someday telling my kids and grandkids about it. So, that I'd have to say that one was special. I'd have to say the one in the NFL, my first fumble recovery on Sunday Night Football in Denver a couple of years ago was really special for me. We lost our dad in November, and we played Denver on Sunday night, and man, it was third quarter into the game, and it was tight back and forth, and we punted out of our own end zone, and DeAnthony Thomas made a play on the returner, and he muffed it and had a chance to get on the ball. So that was obviously special for me in that way, in a different way as for special. But the Cotton Bowl was certainly the probably takes the cake, just because that was my first taste of making a play on that kind of stage.
Well, I got to say, man, you're a strong man for even fighting through it, let alone just playing. So I salute you for that, man, and bless your family. And with that, I'm sure it's even more special to you. My next question: what's fatherhood been like for you?
Oh man, a blast, dream come true. I talk about playing in the NFL being a dream come true, but being the father to a 16-month-old little boy that is driving us absolutely nuts right now is an absolute dream come true. I fortunately, growing up, had an incredible father, and to have a little boy and to have that you just don't understand until you become a father, and that was always a dream of mine, and to be married to the love of my life and have that little boy running around. It makes everything I do more special, and you just you think about things that you've never really considered, or really thought about in life. You start thinking deeper. You start thinking about him and his future and things that you've never thought about before. And so he's a blast, man. He's so fun, and little blonde hair, blue eye. Kind of looks like mama, but we'll hold it against him. No, he's doing a very, very good thing. No, that is no. Yeah, he don't have my ugly mug, but no, it's unbelievable. We're enjoying every second of it. While he's this little, and like I said, it just makes everything more special, and you get to kind of live life through his eyes, and see him experience new things, and see him see the world in different ways, and man, it just just the life through the eyes of a child is unbelievable. And so, yeah, we're loving every second of it. We really are.
That's awesome. Just enjoy it while he's young, because my son, YouTube has taken over.
Oh, yeah.
It's just,
it won't last for you. We're trying to enjoy it. It's not going to last for a while.
So, man, this has been amazing. We are going to have to do this again, maybe even next offseason. We'll just plan it on that. But we got some Twitter questions for you. At ClamDigger1414 wants to know, who hit you hardest in your college or pro career?
I didn't, because of our punt in college, I never really got hit because I could take off running before the ball was punted.
That's good.
So I just outran everybody, never really, and probably 95% of returners in college probably fair caught it because we were right there. I have gotten hit in the NFL. It does happen. Broke a couple ribs a couple years ago, and I can't remember that kid's name. He was from Jacksonville. He swacked me pretty good. And then I got hit. Here's a story for you. The other one, probably the second biggest hit that I took, was we played Green Bay 2 years ago, and we were punting out of our own end zone. It was the last preseason game of preseason, and punting out of our own end zone. We punt down. I run down. I take a peek. Well, there was two guys stacked up to each other. Didn't see the second guy. This guy swacks me. I mean, just takes me out. Takes like three of our guys out. I mean, just total blindside. Great play by him. Legal hit. But it hurt pretty good.
Yeah.
And so this dude smokes me. Anyways, I got to go see the trainers after the game, get kind of roughed up a little bit. It was all right. 2 days later, we signed that guy to the Chiefs. And so this guy's sitting his name's Sam Barrington, and he's sitting 2 seats from me to our right, and I'm just like, dude, like, friendly fire, man. Like, come on, like, you smoked me. But hey, it was final cuts, and he had to make a play, and so obviously we signed him for some of his play in that game. So hey, props to him. It's a game.
Well, it can't get any worse than this. I mean, after I get Hard Knocks, I go to play in the UFL, and we bring in another fullback because they wanted a bigger guy, and along comes Jimmy Devlin from the New England Patriots. That's for the story of him. We found D end out of Brown. We just turned him into a fullback. Awesome. How about that?
Yeah, how about that?
You know those stories, but this one will lead it. This next question will lead into kind of what you said. At NTom10, he wants to know, what's your bigger worry? Is it a bad snap, or is it getting cracked on a return? And then he also wants to hear about some stories about Mahomes in Kansas City.
I would say, obviously, as a snapper, biggest worry is a bad snap. That's our job as a long snapper in the NFL or college or whatever level, high school, is snap first. And your responsibility is, snap first, protect, and then cover. So if I get swacked on if I get laid out, obviously I'm going to take a peek because there's only one snapper on the team. You don't want to just get meleeed and then your backup snapper who's a tight end has to come in. It's just not good. There's one of us, so you have to be careful enough. But at the same time, it's a game of football. You're playing 100 mile an hour. So I would definitely I would fear a bad snap more than getting cracked because if it was a perfect snap and I got hit downfield, hey man, it's a part of football. You go on. So and then the other question was about Mahomes. Is that right?
Yeah, Mahomes in Kansas City. Just any stories?
Man, well, Mahomes. It's interesting because his first year in Kansas City, he was Alex's backup. And, we knew he had talent. I wasn't in practice, playing defense against him by any means, but I saw him practicing. I knew, I heard what our defensive players were saying. And, the kid's got talent. They'd say he's got a heck of an arm. He's got like a Brett Favre kind of arm. But you just never know what's going to happen. We had faith in him that he was going to, be a great player for us. And then the whole Alex trade happens and, you're thinking, well, whoa, like what's happening here? But you trust the front office and trust that, it's a business. They're doing what they need to do for our team. And then he comes out and just explodes this year, and the kid was just on fire. And, you kept thinking, hey, there's going to be a game, where maybe we're going to go through some growing pains and we're going to punt a lot, things like that. Just never happened. I mean, the kid just makes plays right and left. He knows the game. I mean, he's smart, but he can make plays on his feet. He makes plays on his feet and through the air at the same time. He does things and makes little flips that just defy the game. I've been fortunate in my 5 years to get to watch some of the greats play and Peyton Manning and Drew Brees and some of these guys, and to see Pat play at the level that he did this year is extremely exciting for Kansas City and our future. But props to him. He's an incredible player, and for him to win MVP His first true year playing says a lot about the kind of player and kid that he is. But still love going and golfing with him and hanging out. He's just a kid. He's a great dude, but he's a great leader for our team, and so we're very fortunate to have him.
Really hope that Alex Smith gets well. Obviously,
yes.
That was tough.
Yeah, absolutely. All of our thoughts and prayers go out to Alex for what he has gone through, and you just hate that. Alex is one of those guys that we've come to love, and was our leader for several years in Kansas City, and just class act. That dude is one of the greatest guys I've ever been around. He's intelligent. He knows the game. He's a good family man, a good father, and you just hate that happened to him. And we sure hope he makes it back and it makes a full recovery.
At Gillette LD wants to know what's the best advice your dad gave you.
Man, how do we? So much. I think since we're speaking on football, I'll keep the advice football related. There was a time in high school where I was a kicker and punter in high school. Played wide out, small town. You play everything. I played quarterback first. Early on as a through junior high and through freshman sophomore year of high school, and then I switched to wide receiver. I was an athlete, so I figured that would probably be my best chance to go play college football. And ended up walking on to Oklahoma as a wide receiver and ended up snapping of all things. But I grew up throwing the ball, played baseball, through junior high and early in high school before, kind of switching over to track and field. But I was out on the game field at Washington, with my dad one day, and we were kicking the ball around. We were working on punting, doing line drills and things. And he said, "Hey, you want to snap me one?" And so I just kind of leaned over, threw one, and it was really fast. If I threw 5, they were kind of all over the place, but I had some pop to it. And I'll never forget my dad. He said, continue to practice that. He said, keep it in your back pocket. He said, someday you might use it.
Awesome.
And by the grace of God, it worked out, and I'm going into year 5 in the NFL doing it. So, my advice to kids who are playing whatever position they are, man, if you have a talent and a God-given talent to kick, punt, snap, whatever it is, man, do it. You just never know where it's going to take you. And it took me, I didn't know I was walking on as a skinny, walk on wide receiver from a small town. My dream was to wear the Sooner uniform, and I through college, I wanted to play wide out and took it personal and kept trying to play, and when in reality I should have just been snapping the whole time, but you're obviously young and dumb, and you think you know what's best, and the Lord had other plans for me, and I continued to work, and got out of college, and wasn't heavy enough, could snap, had the ability, still needed to improve, but had the ability to do it, just wasn't heavy enough to play as a long snapper. And it's funny, actually, Coach Gary Gibbs, which was our linebacker coach for several years in Kansas City, and he was on coaching staff when my dad was playing in the mid-'80s, and I saw Coach Gibbs back here in the offseason over at the health club, and he just basically flat out told me, he said, James, I know that you want to make it as a wide receiver in the NFL, but he said, your ticket is long snapping. And that's kind of all it took. I was like, okay, yes, sir.
Awesome.
And so I got with my dad's old strength coach in college, Pete Martinelli, started working with him, nutrition plan and weight program, and got my weight up from about 210 to about 240, 245. Started getting looks, continued to work in oil and gas, and 3 years in, went to Gary's Honors Camp in Arizona, specialist, got signed by the Chiefs and won the job, and like I said, going into year 5. So a blessing would be an understatement. It's unbelievable, and where it's taken me, and to get to play a game that I love. Might not have been the position that I always dreamed about playing,
no doubt.
But to get to play on the field with some of these guys, some of these legends, and just get to go to work and do what you love to do, unbelievable. So yeah. I would have to say that is, in a football sense, that was probably the greatest advice my dad ever gave me. Just put it in your back pocket, and you might use it someday.
That's awesome, man. And talk to you. Football's evolving, and the evolution of it is with Dave Tobin, those guys, the special teams coaches. The phrase "the more you can do." Yeah. I'm sure we'll laugh about it, but everybody that makes the roster is asked if they can kick or if they can punt. And you're laughing because it's true. Can you deep snap? What can you? Yeah. You are asked those questions directly.
Well, like you said, the roster spots are hard to come by. Obviously, that's a fact. And, the more that you can do in those situations, especially you get to, regular season and you've got 53 men on your roster dressing out, game day. I mean, if you can step in for emergency, that's a huge asset for the team. So we're always trying to find the backup kicker, punter, or snapper, just in case. You hope you never have to use them.
No joke.
And but it does happen, and it's a violent game, and it's going to happen. You're going to get dinged up here and there, but you just stay after it. And like you said, I mean, the more you can do, the better.
I got to end it with remind me to ask you about a Tobe question about his how smart he is. But this last question, it says T King Cannon 21 wants to know what's the offseason like for an NFL long snapper.
Well, we do a lot of the same that everyone else does. I mean, obviously we get back in the weight room, we condition, do a lot of those things. I still stay after all the, core lifts, power lifts, and we always have goals in the off season where you want to get better, what strength you want to get better at. And then obviously, ours is like a golf swing, kicker, punter, snapper, you're always working on your skill. And so you put a lot of time into that. You watch film of yourself, you change things here and there, you make changes for the better, and you just keep working. It's a thing where you never feel like you're good enough, or you feel like you're always working on something, always trying to get better. And so for us, in regard, the off season is just like all the other players. You have some time from when the season ends till OTA starts, but usually you take a few weeks off and kind of get away from the game, let your body heal up, rest, and then get back to work. And but you got to love it. To get to go train and work out and that be your profession is such a cool thing to me. And especially when you love it, you love doing it. Very fortunate to get to do that.
So and we're going to end this with, this has been awesome, and again, we have to do it again, but if there's less than 10 seconds left, we're backed up and we're going to take a safety. If we're up by more than 3, we're going to, snap it back to our punter, James, and everybody's going to hold and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. I can say things like the fair catch, free kick rule, which most people won't know, but you've quizzed on it in the off season. What's the smartest thing you've seen Tobe prepare for, or smartest play call that you've seen executed?
Man, we practice a lot of these situations, but I don't think there's a situation in the game that Coach Tobe has not covered with us. I mean, we quiz one another. I mean, he comes up with games. I'm sure he did the same thing when you were there. I mean, he has ways of making sure you're prepared. Whether you're a turn man or you're a punter, the time, the runoffs, the rule now that, on a kickoff that you can extend the out of bounds and get your foot out of bounds and basically it goes out of bounds and you get the ball for 40, I believe. Those sort of things. I mean, he's always quizzing our returners. He wants you to know that, there's no excuse for making a mistake in that regard, because he prepares us for all those situations and things. There's a lot of things, where you're like, man, I've never thought about that, but he's gonna make sure and you're prepared to play, and another reason why he's such a great coach.
Amazing interview, brother. You did it all, man. Good job.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to be sitting here, and if you would have told me, like I was telling you earlier, I was looking at your jerseys. Man, I grew up a huge Sooner fan. We were season ticket holders, and man, you're a legend. I mean, to get to watch you for the amount of years that I watched you play and blocking for AD, I remember you carrying the ball too. You told it pretty well. A little bit. You did. So if you had told me I would be sitting here and visiting with JD Runnels, it's awesome, man. It's unbelievable. So props to you and continued success for everything you do, man.
It means a lot, brother. And I will. So I'm living my life vicariously through, obviously we have sons, but obviously I'm, coaching up a lot of kids, and it's really humbling each day, doing 7th and 8th grade math now,
Love it.
I'm just trying to solve for X.
Hey, you're having an impact on a lot of kids, so that's special, man. That's big time.
Big time. Well, thank you to my producer, Brad Reed. This has been James Winchester. I'm JD Runnels. It's been another great episode of Fullback U.